Hello everyone, Mark here. So today we will create a basic polygon model in Blender to be sculpted here in ZBrush and rendered in Blender at a low resolution. So we are combining the two. Polygon modeling, ZModeler is a great tool, however it requires a little bit more in-depth knowledge. Just picking up the polygon model in skins of Blender in general, it's a little bit easier. So we are going on that route. And as we have the Blender already open, so here's Blender, I have Gobi installed, and this import function is on. That means I can go here, select the cabin, and press Ctrl G to send it out. Now, if you have multiple subtools you want to send over, you can choose Tool and Visible, or you can choose All, and that will send multiple things. Now, in Blender, here's the house. I like to keep this cube just to have a size reference. Which one is a neat thing, it doesn't bother. And in general, what you have here is the pivot point is originated from here. So that means when we are getting back, this could be at the very same position. Now, as we are creating references, we may want to move it around, which one is okay. If you press Alt G, it will reset, and then you can send it back the normal way. So this is a good thing to know. If you want to separate some parts because it's easier for you to split areas, windows, whatever, doors, you can do that even if you have one single model that was merged. So we can go into edit mode, face number 3 for faces. We can hover over an element and press L, it will select the element, and if you press P, you can go to separate that selection. The same thing is working even with polygons, you can separate them this way. The other trick, what you can do is to simply duplicate a model and delete that you don't want. That's also works depending on how much you want to keep, or so if you have a small thing, it's easier to separate. If you have more things to do, usually it's easier to duplicate and remove, delete on the process. Okay, so now for example, if I move this door, it will keep the same original position. So if you press Alt G, it will set back as this normal situation. So if you have this house, you can even rotate, for example, on the Z-axis, having about 90 degrees or minus 90. And if we want to work on this particular area, now we have this one. We can press Alt R and it will go back normal. Okay, so let me do this Ctrl Z. And I'm modeling in the front view, and I have a shortcut assigned, which one is not a default one. So we are in object mode, and this is the Ctrl W shortcut for me, and that shortcut is assigned to wireframe. So right click and you can assign a new shortcut, Ctrl W. That's my suggestion. However, others may work, but be careful because it may be conflicting with other existing shortcuts. And this doesn't mean you have it in all modes. So, and sometimes if you're switching a different mode, this Ctrl W is not working, then you have to look for the same. And if you have a chance, you can set it up, or always press Q and set it up there as well. So right click and add to quick favorites. All right, I also have it here. Okay, so that's for short, and right now I'll start with the window. If you rotate to the house, you can start from here. If you're so it's up to you. Right now, this is my front view, and I'm creating a simple plane. So Shift A, plane, and just using the transform tool. The toolbox is opening up with the spacebar. If you have the standard layout, usually you have this Shift space, which one in my case it's the animation playback. So that's what I'm using now, and just rotating it around and 90 degrees and going front and pressing G, going here, and right now I'm just scaling down and creating this window frame to fit loosely. Okay, I'm not going very hard on this because later on we can adjust it. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to edit mode and face mode, selecting this interior face and hit I to inset. If it's not good enough, maybe it's too much, I will reduce it. That's fine. And hit X to delete the faces, which was perfect. Now we don't have any thickness, and something bothers me, that's the color. So to have a little bit of a better view, we can always choose this random color, and it helps to pick up if you are in this viewport shading mode solid, then this will work. And you can choose random, which can help a lot in the modeling process. Okay, now the other task is to add some thickness. I will use the solidify modifier for that. And the nature of Blender and the nature of 3D in general is if you're scaling an object or rotating, moving too much, usually you have to reset, but scale is the most sensitive part in Blender. So we can press Ctrl A and reset the scale by applying the scaling. So now what we see in the 3D viewport is matching what we have written in the code of this object. So the exact display unit and the system unit is matching. Okay, then we are just going to add modifier, and this is generating solidify, and we are adding a thickness. I will add it as a depth. Which one is looking nice? Again, we can modify it if we wish. We could just have to select the point. And if I'm hovering over here with my cursor, I can press Ctrl A to accept it. This is one of the quickest way, and we can go back to edit mode. Now, we want to create an internal part of this wooden frame. So I'm selecting the edge and Ctrl R and using the scroll and left click, right click. This is what we want. Number 3 to have the polygons, and my cursor is closer to the corner. I'm using the Alt key, and sometimes it's picking up, sometimes it doesn't. So now it's selecting the poly loop we have, and we can right click and choose extrude faces along normals. Okay, so if you just simply press E, it's kind of a uniform extrusion, one direction, all polygons. So we right click, extrude along normals will allow you to create this internal part. If you want to make it more interesting, you can add more insets, bevels, whatever. So this process could be endless. Okay, so here we are now. And look what we have. So if we are talking about subdivision modeling. So if we are in object mode and applying a modifier for the subdivision, this is how it looks now. We don't have any supporting edges. So this is why it becomes completely circular-like thing. It's not circular, and the reason is it's not perfectly square, but it could be really close to a circle. Now, the next step is to add some supporting edges that allows us to keep the corners sharp. So going back to edit mode, and what do we want is selecting these edges. So I'm using the Alt key, clicking on the selection. If we want to add to this existing selection, I'm using Alt and Shift. So that one, Alt and Shift, and I'm pressing Alt Z just to see if the selection is correct. If you see this as a not continuous loop, that means you have a mesh error or something is off. Be careful with that. It should be a kind of a closed loop in here. All right, let me go in here and use Ctrl B, and yeah, it's moving around, and we need a couple segments, not much. We need 2 segments and 3 parts. Okay, let me stop here. And what we do basically is we are creating a kind of a chamfer that allows us to have an in-between edge, an in-between loop, namely. So this loop, I will show it now as in this individual corner. So I'm pressing S to scale. And we can create this ridge in here. And the reason we are creating this, because it will generate this look. So this is sharp, and we can create the illusion that this one's actually 2-parters. So one part coming from in a vertical position, and one is the horizontal one, and we can join them. We can even add bevel to this later on. Okay, let me go back and remove this now, because before we do it, we want to make them identical. So I will select all the others as well. So Alt and Shift, and just zooming in, and Alt and Shift, and selecting these. And as always, Alt and Shift, and pressing Alt Z to make sure that we are selecting the correct thing. And if you just press S and start scaling, it will scale to the center. because whenever you start scaling, it will create a bounding box around your pending selection, and that bounding box is right now it's a one big one, and it will pull to the center. But if we switch this one to individual origins, then the bounding boxes will be multiple. So each of the selection will receive its own local scaling position, and then we can do this nice thing. You also have this hotkey, so the dot hotkey next to your right shift is doing the same thing. Now I'm moving a little bit closer because I want to keep an eye on this, and I can be certain that every other corners are done the same way. Alright, perfect. Now, what else? We want to have a little bit of a corner rounding. So, going here, Alt, and we are selecting these double edges around, and we will bevel it. Okay, just to reinforce this corner and create a nice kind of a woodworking touch-up. So there we are, and again, let me show this. We have these double edges all around. The internal edge is already done. That's pulled in. You can see as it is pulling in here slightly. Okay, let me go back and press Ctrl B, and we need a very, very subtle bevel. Hey, where are you? Not much. Ctrl B. Okay. So, yep. A slight one. Okay, we don't need to go crazy about this. Let me deselect and just test it. So we are again in object mode, and I will turn off the wireframe, and now we have this nice edge that's running around. If you're creating a picture frame, now you have a picture frame. Let me go back and delete this. You can also delete by let me undo. By hovering over and pressing X. That's also deleting. It's another fast way to do it. So going to edit mode, and what else we need? We want to maintain a good sharp edge around the outer corners, so not to be rounded. Same inside, and even here. The reason I'm doing this here because in my mind I want to paint this area a little bit different than this one. Maybe different material, different wearing. It's up to the project, but if we have that, we can use it for hiding the UV seams, and more than that, we can create polygroups. So polygroups are really powerful in ZBrush, and UVs and polygroups can work hand in hand. So this is why we have to think ahead. Okay, let me just select Alt and select the all loop, Alt and Shift and select this all loop, Alt and Shift and all loop, and the same thing here. Okay, so this is where we are. We can also add this interior one. So let me show this here in motion. So now you can see where we are. And I will select also this one. So that's it. And again, Ctrl B, we need only 2 segments here, not more. So scrolling should be done, and there we are. It's not a big edge, it's just there. Now at the moment when we are leaving edit mode and adding the subdivision modifier, this is how it looks. So that's nice. What we have to take care of if we are turning on the wireframe, these wireframes, let me click away and let it turn to black. So as you see, this wireframe is slanted. This is angled, which one is, it's not a disaster if you just quickly model something, but if you want to use it for, you want to modify it, bend it, twist it, make a displacement map and do more complicated things with it, it will not hold up. So what we have to take care of, we have to have editing supporting edges that keep this area clean and somewhat separated from the interior parts, where we can add simple straight edges along. So let me turn this off, and the other thing is now it's turned off optimal display, but if you turn it off, this is how it looks. So for sculpting and displacement and any other things, it's not really beneficial to have this structure because we have so many stretched out polygons. and also slanted, so this is not really our goal. We have already the shape. The shape is good, but we have to go further in adding the supporting part. Let me hit X, go to edit mode, and start on the supporting part. So I will go and Control R and adding these loops, and I will add these loops simultaneously. And right now these are angled. Now, how to make them straight up? The way to make them straight up is to select the edges, and I'm holding Alt and Shift, but let me first do it at once. So Alt, select here, and let me demonstrate how it goes, and I'll undo this. So by default, please check that you have everything selected, and we can go to the gizmo, and this is the theory. So you can have an edge, and if it's vertical or horizontal, it's fairly easy to just scale it down this way. It's like flattening. I like to use the term ironing, so I'm just flattening this one, ironing and aligning it straight. Now, this thing, in other softwares, you have a stopping point where you can just stop with the scaling, and that helps a lot, but here it doesn't. However, we have an even more practical solution. So here's the deal. This one is horizontally should be flat, and that's the x-axis. So I'm pressing on S because that's scaling, pressing X because we want to scale on the x-axis, and pressing 0 because I want to make it dead center. And now it's boom, it's perfectly aligned. And if you have multiple, let me undo this. If you have multiple edges, but this individual origins is turned on, that means you can select these and you can scale them and scale them at their location. So I'm pressing S, X, 0, ups. So S, X, and 0, and done. Okay, so this is how it goes. Even further, let me undo this again, and using the same thing here, I can do this like S, X, and 0, and both pairs are created. Now, here's the thing. I want to put in my side symmetrically. Scaling may work, but it doesn't work with edges in this situation. Maybe we can go to the medium point and give it a try, and that works as well. But if you don't want to switch, another quick solution, because I like to leave it as individual origins, is to switch to vertex mode, and in vertex mode it will do fine. And when you have an edge banding selection and you switch to vertex mode, your selection is you can keep their selection. It will just update on a different sub-object level. So instead of having the vertices selected, you can switch to edges and back and forth, which one's really handy. And it's a good thing to keep in mind. Okay, the same thing here. I will go back to edge mode, Control R, loop cut here, Control R, loop cut here, selecting all the edges and hitting S. This is Z, axis scale 0, and then switching to 1, and then scaling this up. So now we have these supporting edges, which one is hilarious. Okay, so let us go and test control number 2 and control number 2 and see if this display how it changes. And as you see, we have a little bit more support here, so we have denser edges. These are not as slanted. However, these are not perfectly straight, but we are getting closer. Okay, now we are in somewhat in the mid state. That means this could be used in multiple ways. I can create multiple windows with different sizes, door frames, and other things with the same pattern. So before I start to create this iterations and mutations of this model, we can set up the UVs, the seams, and everything just to have a kind of a blank model. Okay, so let me go and start on the UV work. Now, here's something you should know, that when you have this model, some of the UV things are working even here. So if I'm pressing U, it will bring the UV mapping stuff, and I can mark the seams. So I don't have to go to UV editing and do the things there. I can keep it fairly relaxed here, and I can mark my seams. So where should be those seams? Let me go in edit mode, and the seams, we can hide them because we were thinking ahead, and we have this edge running aside. Alt clicking, okay, I'm going edge mode, alt clicking, and selecting again. We can go to see-through mode just to make sure that the selection is perfect. All right, if at the beginning when you are not 100% sure about your selection, it's always a good idea to check your selection before you're performing any action. Okay, it may be slow, and I know it's a little bit annoying to always check those things, but it will give you confidence and it will give you a routine, and this is a nice thing. So even myself, I'm doing it a lot of times. So all that, it's always good. Now it looks fine, and we can press U and mark seam. If you press right click, you will get this menu where you have this mark seam and mark sharp, which one is a little bit confusing. So if you press U, you will get a little bit of a stripped menu that focuses only on the UV tools. What else? Here, there will be another seam. So I'm using Alt key, selecting this edge loop, and Alt key and selecting the other one as well. Here, Alt and Shift. And let me show this to you. Oops, excuse me. So let me show this to you. This is the loop I have selected all around, and that will allow me to split this top part and this bottom one. Okay, so this is like a C channel. If you know anything about metals, C channels are extruded parts of metal, and that's the similar idea is working here. So the UVs are completely not hidden, but it's not they're not really present. So U and mark seam, and then we can go to UV editing mode, and so we can isolate it with a back, and selecting the frame, A, and wow, what a mess that was done here. Okay, so this is interactive. Interactive mode is very, very useful, and we can press U and unwrap. So this is the default thing that we are creating, and as you see, there are some stretches here and there. So we have 4 main objects for these areas, for the big chunkier outer frames, and we have this inside inlays dropped here, separated. So just to make it a little bit cleaner, what we can do is just let me select these and choose this conformal mode, which one is generating a little bit nicer and cleaner topology for the UV. And also we want to check how this thing is looking texture-wise. So hold on for a second. We need to go there and go to shading mode and select the model, creating a new material, and this material will be UV test. And I'm using Node Wrangler. If you don't have it, you can use the Ctrl comma hotkey and add-ons and if you just type in WRA, it will drop you Node Wrangler. You have to enable it and select the model, and Ctrl T will allow you to use this. And just a second. So there we have the UV checker image, and it's already showing up, and as you see, it's fairly clear. There's no rotation, there's no distortion here. This is just perfectly fine. Now, let me go back to the UV editing and discuss a few things. Now, if you want to play with the grain, with the wood grain, then this should be kept in this orientation. However, if you want to have a little bit of a better distribution, then you may want to know rotation. Now, this is not really effective. So if you have a single window frame, this is not really worth to make it this way. So what we can do is we can combine, we can put a door and multiple frames in here just to have a better UV layout. But if you have only one, what you can do is, for example, you can select all these, and oh my god, it's just, let me go to this and just simply having that. Okay, so we can select all these, and one thing that you can do time to time is just average Iceland scale. So sometimes it helps to correct sizing, especially if you modified something or stretched out something. The other thing is that we can go with the pack islands. And right now this is a 001, which one is really small. We can set it to 005. And especially if you want to do it by hand, for whatever reason, because sometimes it's very easy to go in Photoshop and do the changes there. And if you are working in a team when someone is not a 3D artist, but you can still send out these wireframes and references and guidelines. So then you can just do it in Photoshop without and just simply updating the 3D window can help things to work. Okay, so now this orientation is a little bit better. This packing is a little bit better. We can leave it as it is, and just let me demonstrate quickly. So once you have the correct size, you can fill in the further edges, because right now, of course, this polygon is huge. It's not a proper thing to leave it as it is. So you can use Ctrl R and add further segment. And at the moment when you add further segment, it will update here. Okay, so if you're not stretching your stuff, if you're stretching your stuff, you have redo the UV, but quickly, because we have the seams. And as you see, we are not touching the seams. We are not removing from that seams. This is one of the logic to creating a fairly simple modular system that you can just fill in the gaps depending on how large you want to create a frame. And the other thing is, if you want to resize this thing absolutely, you can go to see-through mode, select this part and just pull it up, and then you just selecting the part again, pressing U, unwrap, and here we go. Now we have the updated thing to deal with. Okay, so let me create the window and let me create the door with this same process. Right now I will leave it as it is, or no, I will undo because of the proportions are a little bit closer to here. So let me go there, and selecting the frame and Alt R to reset because the orientation is different, and when I'm going back with ZBrush it will be off. So I'm selecting that particle model, going here, and I will keep the UVs for myself. So right now I'll work with the UV layout and choose the random to have this nice coloration and rotate it around and with 90 degrees. Perfect. And moving in, and Ctrl W to see the wires, because the wires can help me to fit this window in the right position. So if I want, I can make make changes in Blender, but right now I will just simply follow what I have here. So just simply selecting the points, go to edit mode, selecting the points, the width should be adjusted, and yes, of course, you'd have to go see-through mode, which one is a little bit of an annoying feature in Blender, but there we are. Okay, I may have no selection right now, it's working fine. So we're going back and forth, and same thing here, maybe it will be a little bit bigger, so I will just use this one. What's that? We can see through, and right now I'm not worried about this part. Okay, correct. So that will be the window, and I will just Shift D and copy this one, and that will be the door frame. So same thing here. The door frame will be a little bit smaller, so just to keep things a little bit easy, I will match this corner here and put it in the right location. Okay, and then I have to adjust the rest. So enter to edit mode. This selection is remembered, so I just pull in here. Perfect. Going see-through, selecting these, going see-through, and there we go. Okay, there we are. Okay, perfectly fine. Maybe I will pull it a little bit front, and now creating the gaps. Now, if you don't want to do it over and over, my suggestion is just to make a copy for yourself, move it on the y-axis, put it away, and use it as a template. I will press H to hide it away, and then just going back to the normal window. And what is as expected, we can go in here into edit mode, Ctrl R, and creating subdivisions. And right now I'm looking for these numbers. So this is about 8 segments. So let me look at here. These segments are looking nice. However, we can add one more to make them more square looking. So Ctrl R, and we will set it 9. Now that's 9. If you don't have it open, just look for this. So function key 9 can give you this pop-up. Here it stops my recording, so this is why I'm avoiding to use it. I will do the same thing here. Adding 9 segments, 9, and Ctrl R, and adding a few more. I'm just visually checking. That's also 9 here. This is kind of a squarish. And there we go. And that was 8. Alright, so making the corrections. Now, as you see, this one is updating. I don't really have to rerun this whole system because it's not scaled too much. However, just to have a kind of a routine, we are going to face mode and selecting all and U and unwrap, conformal, and that's fine. And then we can just select W. We can select everything and go with the UV Pack Islands 005, which one's nice. And there we have. Okay, perfect. Now here's the other deal. Let me leave this edit mode. We're going to object mode, and now I know this should be about 8 because it's the width is a little bit different. So I can go Ctrl R and stop here, and that's 8. Let me look at. Okay, this is promising. Do the same thing. That's 8. Ctrl R, and this should be about 17 is looking okay. And let me do the same thing, and that's 17 as well. Okay, perfect. So now, of course, we have to select everything in face mode, select everything, pressing U, unwrap, conformal, and this is generating us this nice feature, and perfect. Okay. So if we want to save some space and use the same texture in here and paint them simultaneously, we can do that as well. Now the way to do it is very simple. I'm back in object mode, selecting both, pressing Ctrl J to join them. Now these are joined. Of course, if you want to move, you have to go in enter edit mode and hovering over an object and pressing L. And because we have the seams, now everything is selected. So in this case, it's better if I'm just looping here. This is something you should know. When you have seams, this L part will select that separated area. If you don't have seams and you press L, it will select all the elements. Okay, so something you should know about. And what else? We want to select all the UVs and repack them. Okay, so yeah, where we go. We want to pack islands. And right now, there's no restrictions. That means everything is packed in order. Maybe we want to have a little bit more gap or reorient some. So in this case, just to have a little bit of a better view, I will just select this and R to, okay, let me do select first. Double A is for deselecting. I've seen there was a little bit of a chunk showing up, and G. This can help. Maybe these should be rotated as well, so I will rotate these parts and hopefully that helps. Double A to deselect, L, and L on this part, using R to rotate, holding Control to make it a degree, and pressing, and double A, L, L. So this way you can organize a little bit your own stuff. And G, and right now I'm selecting all, and go to UV Pack Islands and see the resolution. Okay, it's getting back. I will maintain the rotation. So double A. Because sometimes it's automatically keeping the rotation, sometimes it doesn't. So L and R and rotation and G. And now I can select all and UV. And we have a setting here, Pack Islands, and this is rotate. So I can just close in here. And now it's getting a little bit better. Maybe a little bit more room. Pack Islands, so setting this to about 1. And that is adding a little bit more package. No, the previous one is better. Okay, so this is it. Now we have these two elements in here. Using the available space fairly good. If we split it up even more or adding more items, of course, this usage could be even more beneficial. So if you have one more item here and there, that adds up. But this is just a way to combine multiple elements into one part. Okay. Let me just leave it as it is now and look at the wooden planks. Now, we want to create a few wooden planks here, and just to make a little bit easier, I will select the house and select these parts. So we're going to edit mode L and P to separate the selection, and selecting the model, and G moving on the Y-axis, and we can actually hide it away, which one is great. The same thing here. I should have selected them at simultaneous times, but right now it's just J and Y axis. Okay, and H. So there we are. Here's the model. We want to create the wooden planks. I'll create a box, maybe selecting this box, and Shift E and copy right away on the Z axis, and just simply use the scaling and G X axis and S scaling on this axis. So we'll create a nice long plank here, maybe starting on this corner, and S X. I want to just do it this way. Okay, a little bit closer, and definitely we don't need that much of a width. Alright. Okay, now let me just reset the scaling here, and Alt D to copy this model. We're in object mode, and Alt D, excuse me, on the Y-axis. So now we have basically the same model, so we can select them both. And the reason I'm doing this is just because I want to go into edit mode and select some parts manually, and as you see, it is updating a little bit, which one is easier to find the right size for a particle model. So right now this overall length is needs to be corrected, so it doesn't matter which one I'm going in because these copies are instanced, so everything is working together. That's the big difference between Shift D and Alt D copy, but this is working on the edge mode, the edit mode level. Okay, something else that I can create, I can select the back face polygon, the back polygon here, excuse me, this one, and what I want to do is I want to scale it up slightly and scale it on this direction as well, and that way I can create a little bit of a conic look. Okay, so the reason I'm doing this because that way I have this ridge, but I'm not risking that there's an overlap. Okay, so that's something could be done. It's not a necessity to do this way, but it will give you some room if you want to close it, if you want to open a gap, you want to show beneath something. This is just one way to do it. Okay, and of course we have to have the supporting edges, then the bevels. So this is now the very basic thing. I will just delete one part and keep this original one. Let me look at from the side view. Where we are. That's okay, that's strong enough. The conic is strong enough. Maybe not strong enough upwards, so probably I will work on that. Go to edit mode and select this face, see-through mode. And select this face and stretch it on this axis. Now using Shift key to move it carefully, and okay, S and Z, and holding the Shift key. Allow me. Okay, that's nice, perfect. And then we can isolate and create the beveling work. So we are still in edit mode. We can select all the edges, Control B. But let me look a little bit closer, Control B, and adding up to this. However, this is not working perfectly because we have a triangle there, but if we are subdividing it further, then we can get rid of those triangles, and that is adding up and creating a more supporting geometry. Okay, so there we are. So now we have those. The other thing is, yep, the end should be looped, so I will add 2 loops. And as usual, we can create a scale. So individual origins is set, so we can just iron this down, align these completely horizontally. So S on the Z axis and 0. Now these two are aligned. We can press 1, use the scaling them up. So now we have this nice supporting geometry going all along. And depending on what we want, this has quite a lot of thickness. These are fairly strong logs. Which one is, it's not ideal to modify it afterwards. I will just scale this slightly, which one is distorting the geometry, but I guess we can live with it now, just for the demonstration. Okay, so let me see if this one is, yeah, we need to push this a little bit deeper. Okay, that's correct. That would be fine. Alright, so now I will populate this model. We have the 2 edges. We need to create the in-between further edges. So for that model, I would just Shift D and make a copy, and moving it on the Y-axis. And I'm moving it here, and that's it. So we're watching from this, and go to Edit Mode, select See-Through, selecting the points and GZ. And moving in and zooming in on this. Okay. And GZ. Alright, so there we are. Okay, see through. So this is how it looks. Perfect. And now right click and set origin and origin to geometry. So now it's a little bit easier to copy. I can just move it here and shift and drag. Shift E and drag it here, and make sure that we have an overlap, and Shift R to repeat this. Oh, okay, I was bad on this. Maybe Control A and rotation if we have any rotation issue. Okay, so Shift E, copy on the Y-axis. Now we're perfectly, and Shift R to repeat the process. Okay, I'm happy with the results. I will cheat on this one, so maybe I will select these and go to median point and scale them as 1 unit on the Y-axis, just to make sure that we can meet. Okay, there we are. Okay, so this would be fine on this edge, this is fine on this edge, and we are going back to individual origins, and perfect. Now, of course, we want to add the loops. Now, this won't be any crazy thing, but that's how it goes. Okay, so hold on for a second, because what I was missing on this is the UV part. So now that means I have to do the UV repeatedly, which one is not really ideal. Right now I have the scale for this, so I know I can repeat it multiple times. So I can get rid of these, delete them, and just quickly do the UV for this particular brick. So going to Edit Mode, selecting the edges. And these are the edges I'm selecting. Let me just simply go to Select Mode. And there we are. So opening up this area. And that's the selection. And that's it. So this one is selected. I'm going to show you. This is the opening. View and Mark Theme. And we can go to Tab. Okay, selecting all and U, and unwrap and conformal. How that works? Maybe we can go to angle biased. Okay, so what's going on? Because we have those angles, it is not opening up. Oh yeah, I want to open this one as well. So let me go and escape, and just simply select this edge for the loop. We also need to split that area. It holds on. So something like that. U and Mark Seam. So this is how it looks now. Okay, so all sides are cut, and we have this kind of a C shape. UV, same. Alright, selecting all and press U, and going to conformal, and now that's the correct angle here. So we have these side angles and everything's working fine. Okay, perfect. So that could be duplicated. And let me go back. We can duplicate it and just reproduce the UVs. Of course, we also want to add a little bit of segments here and there. But right now, just because I have the UVs here, I will get rid of this and copy this one and set it back. So Shift D and copy this one to the side, Y-axis. And this was slightly stretched, however, so if I'm repeating this, yeah, I have to stretch it a little bit back. This will be fine. Shift D and just check it. Okay, there we are. What's going on? Oh, we have multiple parts in already. Let me just delete. And there we go. Okay, so Shift D. Y-axis. Okay, this will be fine. So this stretch is fine. And go to edit mode and see through and just select it. And G and Z axis and pulling it down and focus. There we are. And a little bit more down. Okay. Probably this should end here. Okay, just matching to the door. Alright, perfect. Now, as expected, we want to populate, then join these parts and create in-between segments and redo the UVs to have this one single mesh. Okay, so what else? I'm going to this view, Shift D, and copy on the Y-axis. And now we have it. Okay, I will add some coverings in the end to support this whole thing. Now we can select these both and Shift D and copy on the Y-axis, and now we have these. Make sure that we have the nice matching. Perfect. Okay. And Shift D and make the copy. And as you see, this is how it looks. The color now is very close to the background color, but it's looking nice. Okay, we also have to fill this gap. So go in, Ctrl V to see the wires. And again, I'm just Shift D copying here, Y-axis. Let me make this joint and Shift R to repeat. That's fine. Now it was a little bit close. I will just simply give it a little bit more Y-axis and repeat that. And this will work fine. If not, I can still select those and turn on the median point and scaling on Y-axis and using the Shift key just to scale it up and G on Y. Perfect. Okay, I can right away select this whole thing and Shift D and copy them through here. And there we go. Just move it and Shift D and one more piece, Y-axis, and it's actual matching. Okay, I was like using the similar cut out here and there. Maybe some of these logs should be broken up, so we can work on that as well to add some nicer look to it. Because right now it's too even. So one long plank, we can do it better. Same thing here. We just copy these and Shift D and move them down on the Z-axis until we find this area. And just to have a better match, I will select the house, go to this part using L and pressing P to separate, and selecting this part and G and Y-axis, and then just hide it away. Okay, whatever reason I had two of these. And face mode 3, L, G, if I move it, okay, then I can press P, separate, select the model G and moving around, and I will just delete this one because, yeah, we have it already. So let me go back to the front view and check this. So we have the, I can check it like this, and cycle back to normal selection mode. There we are. Then edit mode, see through, selecting all the points and G and Z. And there we are. Okay, so now we can edit multiple things at the same time, of course. And see-through mode, selecting these, maybe we can have 3 here. So Shift E and Y-axis. And that's actually fairly large here. So what I will do is, yeah, I will just select the middle one. No, not this last one. Selecting these two and actually moving them a little bit closer to have a tighter connection. This is nice. Okay, here that looks okay. With this gap should be a little bit more, so I will select the window, Alt Z, and just select these parts and just pull them slightly. Or if I have room around here, yeah, I can select the whole thing and just move it a little bit off. That way, polygons, so we have to be in edit mode. Alt Z, selecting all these polygons, because again, these are jointed now, so I'm just not simply using the transform tools. And just a slight change in the position to make sure that this is visible here a little bit better. Okay, but we can do it in ZBrush as well. Okay, there we are. Here we have this log. This one could be a little bit tighter. See it? Perfect. So G and Y, and move it a little bit closer. Okay, and now we want to match it. So go to the front, the necessary view, and points, and select these points, and just make it a very thin line. Okay. I'm not sure it will be visible in the end because I will add some edge covers. But that's how it goes now. We can leave it as it is. Okay, it looks good. Now what else should we do? Again, these are fairly long and a little bit boring. So what I will do, I will just break up this area. So let me go in here again, Ctrl W. There are no length segments yet, so that adds a lot. So we don't have to do it right away. We can go again to edit mode, and I will just drag these points and move them up, and selecting the model, and where we are, face mode, L, and Shift D duplicating within the model, and make sure that this is working fine. And again, going to polygon mode, vertex mode, and G and moving it down. So now it's matching pretty well. Okay, so now this is a two-parter. So this is a two-parter for us, and we have the seams. So as you see, the seams are still there, which one is a necessary thing. We really want to have those. And I like the look that we have now is split. Okay, so it gives a little bit more man-made look. We're adding a little bit more variation. Here, we can keep this one as one unit, but maybe replace this one. Yeah, just delete it. And then select this guy. Go to front viewport and Shift E to copy and move it on the Y-axis and drop it in here. Let me check the wires. If this drop was successful. And then we can go see-through mode and select these guys and just move in a different location. Okay, so that's it basically to speed create a little bit better looking layout. So now some imperfections can be done this way. Maybe here this one should be something like that as well. So Shift E and copy on here and just add. You can paint a lot, but if you have this modeled separation, you can select the brush and really break them up to create a little bit of randomness on it. Going in and again select these points and just moving, yeah, something like that. Okay, this is good. This is looking good. This is kind of a pattern, which one's great. Here I will add a 2 part. So let me just delete that one as well, and I'm selecting this guy and moving and y-axis. And right now I think I can do more. That means this will be split even further. So it's not just a 2, but I can go in here, select these and G and going up and make it really stuck with multiple pieces. So I will select the face, these faces, and right now if I'm pressing L, it will select everything because it's a single cluster. So I can Shift D and moving on a Z-axis, which one works fine, and check it visually. Okay, and then going back to edit mode and see-through and vertex, selecting just these vertices and moving in and zooming out. And there we are. So see-through. Perfect. Okay, maybe it's this placement is a little bit boring, so let me play with that. And G up here. Okay. Alright, that's good. Here at the bottom, maybe these should we have also a few things. I like this kind of a randomness. Let me look at without the random color. Okay, so if we add some imperfections, that could be nice. Let me go back with the random color and again break these a little bit apart to spice it up. Just select that one and Shift E and G axis. And of course I have to check the width because the width may be a little bit off. Yeah, and scaling on the y-axis, and yeah, that's fine. Okay, now we are going to see-through mode and points selected, these G and points selected, zooming in, and here we are. So see-through. Okay. Great. Again, full control. And what else? We should do maybe. Yeah, if you are a craftsman, usually you're not out of material early in the beginning. So I guess if I have to make it myself as a house, probably the missing parts are where I try to finish the whole work. So in this case I will separate these two and replace those. So I imagine these are the last part where we have the left of material, and Shift E and G. So the logic dictates that this is where we have the least amount of pieces. And also, if you have to hide away your, not mistakes, but you know that there's not much material, usually you try as much as possible to put it somewhere that's not as seen. So maybe below the window area where we have a kind of a cover we can make later on. So I will do something similar again. So edit mode, vertices selected, see through, and there we are. G maybe. Yeah, okay. So here I have the leftover pieces, and this is why it's not appearing there. Here maybe this one is looks okay. I think these parts are fairly small. We have some randomness that adds a lot to it. Okay, perfect. So what's next? We have to work around the models, the parts, and insert the internal wires. So that's what we do, and yeah. So holding on and tap. Okay, so it's time to do the wires. Inside, edit mode, Control R, subdivide it. What? It was 18, so that was the full. That's great. Here we have Control R, and I'm looking for kind of 18. That should be 18. That's working fine. And here is another one, Control R, and that's 18 as well. Here and Control R. It's 18 as well. Okay, so there we are. And of course we have to match the UVs and everything, but right now we are just blocking out the things. Edit mode, Control R. Here is this is fine. This was about 6. Here I don't feel that we have probably a supporting edge inside. 1 should be good. Yeah, it's not a perfect polygon, just to make sure that it's not chipping on the edges. That holds. And there we go. That was 7. I'm working fine for that. Okay, correct. Selecting these. Okay, go to edit mode. Control R. 1 will be enough. You can do it right away in the beginning, and then you don't have to go back. But if you make so many variations, it's easier if you don't have too many subdivisions right away or in between segments, because then you have the flexibility to stretch them anytime. But this is basically the same thing. Okay, so let me select these and go to edit mode, Control R, and what was it? 5. Okay. Okay, where do we go? The same process. Here, I'm just adding just the support one. Here, there's no need. That's fine. Okay. Yeah, we're getting closer. And again, the sizing is not exactly the same in every aspect. Maybe I can select this one and work in simultaneously. Adding the right amount of segments. If we have these, we can sculpt them easier, and we can creating very simple sculpting. So for example, if one is a little bit angled, like angled this way, so you can create these type of things. And even we can go into simple sculpt mode and just simply use a grab, and oh my god, it's just simply the grab. I'm using ZBrush so many times, so we can just move things around, and because we have a basic supporting geometry, we can make it really interesting. Okay, so that's how it goes. And there we go. So that's the basic thing. Let me undo these. And yeah, switching to back. Okay, so perfect. Now that one is supported. Ctrl V to see the actual wires, and then when we have to fix these wires here. So these, and then fixing the UV, and make sure everything is belonging into one package, and check if the texture is working fine or not. So there we are. Ctrl R, Ctrl R, Ctrl R. Oh, it's my bad. Okay, perfect. So now these are here, and then we can just select them and join. And this is one panel. If you already have a system, you can just simply copy. And if you have the same window size, or for example you have here, you're just basically copying the parts and just flipping over things here and there. So that's really can speed up. So I'm pressing Ctrl J, joining them, and go to edit mode and pressing number 3. Number 3 and selecting all the polygons, and now the UV is exactly the same for everything. Right now I will just simply press U and unwrap and conformal, and now everything is unwrapped and laid down, so we can create a nice good resolution texture for it, and it will cover the whole wall, and it will be a single mesh with all the details, which one is a nice thing to have. Okay, so that's fine. Going to UVs, if we have, for whatever reason, we can go with average scale, but no, there's no need to any type of correction. If we're going to go into manually adjusting things, we can do that. Right now, the padding is quite generous. We don't necessarily have to have that generosity for this one because we are painting in 3D. So we can go with pack islands and use this function and reduce it to 0.5 and hit OK. And now it's even less space, which one is still paintable if you want to do it, but it works fine. This is really close to the edge, which one I don't really like, and here it's not that close, so we have some room here. Here's is not that close as well, but I will use a little bit of a scale just to make sure that we are not that close. The reason I don't like it is sometimes I'm pulling textures with AI or using a filter on a texture to change the color, and the other corners, outer edges, sometimes picking up edge distortion and selection issues. So 1 pixel distance, 2 pixel distance can help a lot. The smaller texture you're using, the bigger the chance you have an error here, or JPEG artifacts or something like that. Of course, if you have a 4K texture, you can reduce this barrier a lot because it means we have plenty of pixels already. But if you're using just a 1K texture for a distance shot, it could be an issue. Okay, that's it. So these are the two models, and we will just launch them in ZBrush and then start painting on it. So let me leave it. We have both the UVs here. So here are the UVs for this one. Here are the UVs for this one. Let me rename it Cube. It's not really a telling name. So renaming it function key 12 here, and this should be like wall planks and D side. That because of the door, so wall planks D. Wall planks door, that's fine enough. And this is function 12 and door and window. So we'll find that. Okay, assigning the center, set origin to geometry. Same thing here. Set origin to geometry. It's already there. So these could be sent out. I have a ZBrush running. These two are selected, so we can go and export, and there we are. So now here are the new models. And of course I can hide away the house just for this simple painting. So I can select this model or this model, which one is great. And let me press Shift F and see the poly model, the poly frames. And these are actually very similar. Now, because these are independent elements, you can just simply go in here and go to poly groups and assign auto groups. Because again, these are not the same materials, so you can just always select like these. Okay, so that helps a lot. But with this one, this is a little bit more tough, because if you just click on auto groups, it will just generate simply 2 different groups for these. However, we have a UV, so when we are checking the UV, we have the UV clusters coming from Blender. So here we have the morphs, the UVs, and we can go back with this and going in poly groups and choose auto groups with UV. And that is collecting the information that we have from the UV and using that as a data. Now this can help a lot with the painting. Alright, so that's the basic process of this modeling, and the reason we are creating this whole stuff, then we are able to paint, and right away we can select this model and subdivide it a couple of times. I will just create about 1.3 million. That's fair enough. However, this is a fairly large model, so increase it one more is 5 million. Yeah, that's great. For painting purposes, of course, we don't have to use it for rendering. Here's the door frame, and the door frame should be Ctrl T. Yeah, 2.5 million, which was fair enough. Now we have plenty of pixels and things to sculpt on and manipulate, and that will be the next part of the class. Alright, thank you very much, and see you next time. Goodbye.